it would work like an Uber. It would land vertically, allow passengers to board and then take off vertically, so you wouldn't need a runway or hopefully much space at all. And then like a Waymo, I guess, would fly itself to the destination. So that will take some effort to integrate safely. I think of power lines running across streets and fields, and there's a way to do it. So that's my understanding and how I would envision it. But safety has got to be at the forefront.
Welcome back to Lunch with Alex, the podcast where we sit down with members of the UCLA Anderson community to talk honestly about career decisions, leadership growth, and the experiences shaping who we're becoming. Today's guest operates at the intersection of technical precision and massive leadership responsibility. Peter Redman is a flight test engineer manager at Boeing. With over a decade of experience in aircraft flight test, he currently leads teams at Edwards Air Force Base supporting the modernization of the B-52 bomber. From certifying the Boeing 737 MAX to working on advanced Gulfstream business jets, Peter has spent his career in roles where accountability and teamwork are non-negotiable. But Peter isn't just managing high-stakes flight programs. He is also a private pilot and a current MBA student here at UCLA Anderson. He didn't come to business school to leave engineering behind. He came to expand how he leads and how he thinks about the organizations of the future. In today's conversation, we'll talk about what motivated an aerospace engineer to pursue an MBA, how he balances the demands of Boeing with the rigors of Anderson, and what it really means to build a career with intention. Peter, welcome to Lunch with Alex. I'm really glad that you are here.
Thank you for having me today. I'm very excited to be part of this project, Lunch with Alex, and share more information about myself and introduce myself to the Anderson community.
I guess let's just get right into it. Peter, where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Sure. So I grew up in a town in Indiana outside of Indianapolis. It's called Zionsville. Went to public schools there, kindergarten through high school, and graduated. Then went on to Purdue University to study aeronautical engineering. So I like presenting myself as a guy from the Midwest and try to exhibit those values, being polite, humble, hardworking, sort of mild-mannered. That's kind of how I like to portray myself, but found home on the West Coast here for the last few years.
That's great. So growing up in Indiana, what is that like?
Yeah, so a good part of my family still lives in Indiana. Parents, brother, my sister now lives in New York City. So I go back there quite a bit. My family has always been very supportive of education. I have a lot of teachers in my extended family, and I guess educators in other forms like coaches. So I've always felt that encouragement to pursue education and experiences, and really identify what I want to do in my life and career, and chase down those opportunities. And I think that was a big factor in the business school decision that brought me to UCLA this past year.
Awesome. Yeah, we will definitely get into why UCLA Anderson. Let's talk about your undergrad. Where did you go for your undergrad? What was your major? Why did you pick your major?
Right. So, undergrad at Purdue University, West Lafayette, Indiana, pretty close to where I grew up, actually. Both of my parents went to Purdue, and aeronautical engineering. So I've always been very excited about aircraft, aviation, airplanes, all the above, and knew pretty early on that's what what industry I wanted to get into. And as I progressed through high school, and enjoyed and did well in math and science classes, that steered me in the engineering direction. So when it came time to look for colleges to go to, even though my parents are Purdue grads, I had the opportunity to look around out of state, but kept coming back to Purdue, in-state in Indiana, public school, great engineering program with strong industry ties, especially with aerospace. There's a incredible incredible aerospace history at Purdue with astronauts and partners with aerospace companies. So yeah, I came back to Purdue and started there as an undergraduate engineer, and went into the aeronautical engineering program. One of the important things I did at Purdue was the cooperative education program, the co-op program. So that's, for those who might not know, that's like participating in subsequent internships that may last a semester or a summer at a time. I ended up doing 4 of those with Gulfstream Aerospace, the business jet company in Savannah, Georgia. And that really validated and solidified my interest in aviation.
I think I understand why you chose aerospace engineering, but can you help me understand where your passion for planes and flying comes from?
As long as I can remember, I've loved airplanes. I was a kid playing with Legos and building different aircraft and spacecraft. I love going to museums with airplanes. There was one close by in Dayton, Ohio, the National Museum of the United States Air Force. Many trips there as a kid, and could spend the entire day going through almost any aircraft museum. So that was always a passion, and like I said, got steered towards engineering. And then that passion grew into a couple different things: a strong interest in safety, making sure airplanes are safe, and then as the industry progresses and new technologies develop, how those are safely incorporated into commercial military aircraft. I also, through the co-op work study experience, I kind of merged those interests in the industry and safety, efficiency, with the passion of working hands-on on a actual airplane, and that guided me towards flight test engineering. So pretty much my entire career has been related to flight test engineering. And flight test engineers are involved in the test preparation, so writing very detailed procedures of how the test will be executed. That goes into the test execution phase, where either on the aircraft or maybe in like a ground-based control room, the test is carried out, data is collected, and then ultimately reported on. Engineers spend a lot of time reporting on how the test went, if it passed or failed, if things need to be fixed, because ultimately you need to prove that the airplane works the way it's supposed to and it's safe. So that's done for brand new airplanes, first time they're flying. Of course, that's very rigorous, making sure it can fly safely at different airspeeds, altitudes, through different maneuvers, but then also the systems on board function the way they're supposed to. So that's for new aircraft, and then also existing aircraft that get new upgrades, new technologies. Those are tested pretty thoroughly as well. That's a little bit more what I'm currently working on with Boeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I'll definitely get into your current job. So, what was your first job out of college, and maybe how did you land it? Did the internships help?
They did. So I've always been a big advocate for getting work experience alongside the academic experience. So those 4 co-op rotations led to my my entry-level job as a flight test engineer with Gulfstream in Savannah, Georgia, working on some certification programs for new high-end business jets. And in that role, I did the test preparation. I got to participate on board the flight tests as onboard aircrew flight test engineer. So we would sit in the back and talk with the pilots and work through different maneuvers and how to operate the systems on the aircraft and complete our test plans, and gather data to show if things were working the way they're supposed to or needed to be fixed. So all that has to be done when there's a new aircraft that needs to be certified, and that was a great introduction into flight test engineering right out of school, and has steered my career ever since.
That's great. So you moved to Georgia, and then what happened?
So spent a couple of years in Savannah, Georgia, and loved it. Actually got married there a few years later. So it has a special place in my heart. But from there, went to Seattle, Washington. So one to the southeast, to the northwest. Also loved it in Seattle, and that's when I joined Boeing at sort of the historic home of Boeing, Seattle. I worked at Boeing Field right there downtown Seattle. Also in flight test engineering. I was more of an instrumentation engineer at that point, dealing with the instrumentation and data systems on the test aircraft. First assignment there was on the 737 MAX series, both the MAX 10, which is the largest of those. Got to participate in the factory build. Those first two aircraft, so followed them down the production line in the Renton factory. And then I shifted over to some of the efforts related to fixing the flight control software on the 737 MAX. There were some issues with crashes caused by the flight control computer, and got to participate in the fix to that and testing to ensure that it worked as intended, and has since been a very successful aircraft in commercial aviation. So that took me to Boeing in Seattle, and then identified an opportunity down here in California, Edwards Air Force Base, working on military programs supporting the B-52 and the B-1 bomber, two large strategic bombers in the United States Air Force. And those are both existing airplanes, have been in service for decades, many decades in some cases. So they're undergoing a lot of modernization and upgrades to the systems, incorporating new electronics, avionics, integrating different weapon systems, really touching the aircraft nose to tail, from radar to engines, and upgrading those to modern standards to keep them in service years into the future. So that's the latest challenge.
So you've grown, you've been at Boeing for how long?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
And you've gone from being an individual contributor to now a leader.
Mm-hmm.
How did you do that?
So that opportunity presented itself at the Edwards Air Force Base team. It's a smaller organization since we're embedded with the Air Force on base. So there was an opportunity to be a first line manager, first level manager. And I've always been interested in getting more and more leadership experience, and that's a common theme and carrying through to my my MBA pursuit. I want to pursue higher levels of responsibility and impact on the business. So I was fortunate enough to be selected as a manager in my group. Manage a multidisciplinary team of engineers supporting flight tests of those aircraft, and in some ways that's a dream. I wanted to lead an enthusiastic team of engineers on complex test programs supporting very important aircraft in the United States military. So very happy to be there. Every day is a new challenge, and that also directed me towards furthering my education in UCLA Anderson.
Is it?
So you can sort of see a common thread, even going back to the passion about airplanes and where I've been, where I'm at right now, and where I hope to go.
So you are the co-founder and vice president of the Hostess City Aviators Flying Club?
I did. I listed that. We got a flying club started back in Georgia. It's since grown to a decent sized club, I think, last I checked. When I moved away as soon as they were getting their first airplane, so helped with some of the legal side of things, setting up an LLC and some of the branding, what we would call ourselves, how we would structure the bylaws. I learned to fly both back at Purdue. Did a lot of my flight training there as a private pilot. Did a little bit more in the Savannah, Georgia area. That's where I ultimately got my certificate there, and did a lot of flying up and down the Georgia coast. I have not flown for a while now. It's a lot of money, as you can guess, but it's something. There's always a passion that's going to be there, and I'm going to get back to it at some point. I think right now the plan is after business school, might get back into flying and instrument rating, commercial pilot, things like that. We'll see.
Oh, that's so exciting. Thank you for sharing that, Peter. So then it also says you were the Purdue University team lead for Gulfstream Engineering Co-op and interning recruiting.
Yeah, so that I've always really enjoyed recruiting, college recruiting. Had the opportunity to go back to Purdue after I graduated for career fairs over several years and hire interns and co-ops that came after me. So I really enjoyed kind of paying that forward since I was able to benefit from those work experiences, and I could sort of help others follow in the same path. And that's been the recruiting and team building aspects of management and leadership is something I've always been interested in, and to this day, we're growing the team at Edwards for upcoming test programs. So I like we were just talking earlier about interviewing, and I do like interviewing. It takes a lot of time, but you really get to know people, and when you find someone who just clicks with what the team needs in terms of experience and interest, I like that, and then bringing them on board, getting them familiar with the work that we do, and then ultimately able to contribute. That's something as early in my leadership career. That's something I like, and I'd like to continue to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think we could definitely get into the MBA now. So we're part of the same class, right?
Yep.
We're in the Saturday section.
Sure.
I think it's a great section, you know. We went to Phil together. We took managerial economics together. We took data and decisions together. So
Yep.
I guess my first question for you, Peter, is how did you know it was time for you to get an MBA?
I could almost trace that to a specific moment. After undergrad, for many years, if you asked me if I wanted to go back to school, I would have adamantly said no. I'm done with school. I just want to work. But for some reason, this was like December of 24. I was back in Indiana for the holiday break and went up to Purdue for a basketball game. I'm a huge college basketball fan. Purdue Boilermakers. UCLA has got some great basketball history too. So I think I'm gaining another allegiance too. But anyway, so I was at a basketball game at Purdue, and we were just reminiscing on what it was like to go to school there. My brother and my dad and I was thinking for how hard I worked in undergrad to get where I wanted to go as a flight test engineer. What could I do to develop my, I guess, business skills and leadership skills to supplement the engineering background and years of experience I was able to gain since leaving Purdue. So the thought kind of entered my head. It was, driving home from the game, and I was talking to my family, and I was like, what about business school? Where would I go? So mind you, this is December. I think that was coming up on like round 3 of applying. It was late in the game. So I had a short window of time to get my application together. I scrambled to take the GMAT, get some letters of recommendation, which I need to add, got a lot of support from my management back at Boeing. Went to them and I was like, what do you guys think about getting an MBA? And they were like, do it. Then I was able to get my application together, get admitted in the last round, and that led to starting in the fall of last year. So yeah, the whole objective was to combine my engineering education and industry experience with sort of the academics of business and leadership, combine those to progress into what I hope to be the next phases of my career in advancing leadership positions.
Okay. So let's talk about academics. You said undergrad was hard. What is the MBA like? What was it like taking the core classes? We're in it now.
We're in it right now. It's a different challenge. It works my brain in different ways. I'm, of course, very numbers oriented and math and science. So some of the other topics are stretching my brain in different ways. And that's really the goal. I wanted to learn different things uh, meet people who weren't also just technically minded like me, engineers, because day to day that's the majority of the people I interact with are engineering and technician types. So that's kind of what I think of the business school experience so far. It's what I think what I needed.
So how about student life and community, right? The MBA, it's a very social experience.
Sure.
Have you joined any clubs? What has it been like?
Well, I've really enjoyed the study group structure that FEMBA program at Anderson promotes. Kicking off with the Foundations in Inclusive Leadership Week, Phil Week. I like the collaborative environment. That's really what I was seeking out in business school and different MBA programs. Rather than doing it isolated online, I wanted the on-campus component for classes and group work. I knew I would be more engaged that way, keep me interested, and so far that it has, and I enjoy working with not only my study group, the larger section that we've got on Saturdays. It's really oriented well towards everyone's working. It's a part-time, fully employed MBA program, so that's really the structure I was looking for, and so far it's been exactly that. So,
any takeaways? We've done fall quarter, spring quarter. We just took our midterm. For accounting. What have you learned so far?
There's just lots of little things that click and get me to thinking about things differently. I personally and professionally too. I think of the communication involved in the group interactions, decision making, data driven decision making. That's already, I think, applying in my job, how I look at data and process it, and ultimately make decisions based on trends and things that can be identified. So yeah, there's lots of little things that are, and personally too, looking at the economy and personal finances and thinking about things differently. And yeah, I'm already learning a lot and looking forward to the electives you mentioned and continuing the core classes these next few quarters.
Awesome. What about like the study abroad or the global immersion? Are you interested in any of that?
Interested. I need to look into it more. But they're awesome opportunities. So looking forward to those as well.
Absolutely. And Peter, can you share a story about a profound interaction you've had, maybe with an Anderson professor, an alumni, or a classmate that has significantly influenced your perspective?
I might answer a couple different ways. So the study group and our section Saturdays, that's been very meaningful. Like I said, I don't at work. I don't interact with people outside of aerospace. Pilots, engineers, technicians, and other support roles. So it's cool to meet people from different industries that are all brought together with that same spirit of advancing their career, following their dreams, whatever those may be, and we're working together to learn. So that's since Phil Week and through the core classes. That's something that I value a lot. Is just the meaningful camaraderie, I guess, that we have and working together to learn but then individually develop and pursue our goals. So that's been cool. Meeting equally passionate faculty makes the experience even better. And then you said alumni. I think back to the phone interview I had as I was scrambling to apply before the deadline. He worked for Boeing at one point too, and talked about how relevant the MBA was back at Boeing. So again, that was kind of validating that this was going to be the right decision for me.
What a coincidence. Do you think they planned that? They're like,
I'm sure somebody.
I'm going to have you call them.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do
and
that.
Then they got you.
Maybe I'll do that one day to the alumni interviews. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. How about managing intensity? You've got a full-time job, full-time student.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance it all?
I'm gonna admit that I'm still figuring it out. There's weeks that I've got it nailed down, that I've got the work life school balance, and then there's others that one of those legs is out of whack. But I think it's a never ending effort through the program. I'm enjoying it every step of the way. Haven't wanted to sacrifice any one of those pieces, but it's always a challenge to balance all the different facets: life, school, work, and haven't failed, but it's taken some effort. That's for sure.
It's awesome. All right. So we're getting kind of towards the end of our time together. Just a few more questions, and again, I'm super grateful for your generosity and your time today.
Thank you.
Looking forward, 5-10 years ahead, what's one major industry trend you plan to capitalize on, and how is your MBA specifically equipping you to lead that change?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good one. Well, obviously, AI pops into your head first, and how that's working its way into aviation. Autonomous aircraft on commercially for, the, like the urban air taxis that are in work, changes to commercial aviation. I think of like more automated systems that might lead to single pilot operations. Then on the military side, where uncrewed aircraft will combine with crewed aircraft to bring in more data and stuff like that. So that's not AI and those tools. I had not used very much at work. Learning about them in an academic setting is interesting, and how they can be used to look at data, synthesize larger amounts of information, and then make decisions based on that. I think it's kind of cool to see the academic side of that, and then watch it show up in industry more. So I think we'll see that in the future. And then on the business side, it'll take business effort to get companies and customers to adopt those new technologies, and having the technical information and then the business skills combined. That's what I want to capitalize on in my career. Again, achieving higher leadership levels with more decision making authority and an impact on the way we do business and deliver to our customers.
Mm-hmm. So I have an off script question. Yesterday in class, we watched a commercial, I believe, for Archer. Right? It was those flying ride shares.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think that's going to catch on? What is your take? Because you're the engineer.
I kind of go back and forth. At one time I thought, no, they wouldn't catch on, and nobody would do that. But you're seeing large companies, including, you mentioned Archer, Boeing is investing a lot in I think they call it urban air mobility, something like that. The taxis, air taxis, kind of. You're starting to see that get some momentum. So, that's another trend, and the AI autonomy side factors into that for sure. So that would be a big change in aviation to integrate those into the airspace, along with general aviation, airline, all those operations.
And for those listening on the podcast that don't know what this is, could you just explain it maybe in layman's terms, the mechanics of flying ride shares?
Best way I could describe that, it would work like an Uber. It would land vertically, allow passengers to board, and then take off vertically, so you wouldn't need a runway or hopefully much space at all. And then like a Waymo, I guess, would fly itself to the destination. So that will take some effort to integrate safely. I think of power lines running across streets and fields, and there's a way to do it. So that's my understanding and how I would envision it. But safety has got to be at the forefront, because people need to go where they need to go safely. That's for sure.
The future is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. So last two questions. In 3 words, if you could describe your experience at Anderson thus far in just 3 words, what would it be?
Motivating, motivation. That's been consistent the whole time. I'm going to pick friendly. People I interact with, yourself, other classmates, everybody's very friendly and welcoming. And I think challenging, but in a good way, not an overwhelming, discouraging, challenging. It's again, motivating and done in a friendly way. So those kind of all go hand in hand, but it's challenging me to learn more and grow as a person, as a leader, than in my career. So those are the three that come to mind.
Thank you, Peter. All right. Next question. What is one thing you hope to have contributed or left behind for a few future classes of Anderson students?
Sort of like my point about how I like how everyone's coming from different backgrounds and holding different passions. And mine is one of my passions is aviation. So I hope they remember that I was someone who was passionate about something and wanted to work really hard to achieve my goals and progress my career. And I want others to realize they can do that too. So if there are ways that I can assist, helping out with homework. Eventually, I mentioned the alumni interview. I'd like to do something like that and pay it forward. I think that'd be cool.
That's awesome. All right, great. Well, Peter, thank you again for joining me today. I really appreciate your openness and thoughtfulness you bring to every topic we covered. What stands out to me is the sheer intentionality of your journey. You've gone from managing the technical complexities of B-52 modernization and the 737 MAX to the classrooms of UCLA Anderson, and I get to call you a colleague, not just to change lanes, but to expand the horizon of what you can achieve as a leader. Your story is a powerful reminder that growth doesn't always mean walking away from your roots. Sometimes it means going deeper and broader at the exact same thing. So you are a perfect enhancer for everyone listening who is currently balancing a demanding role, navigating a career pivot, or weighing the value of an MBA. I hope Peter's perspective encourages you to be patient and intentional with the opportunities right in front of you. Peter, thank you for sharing your insights and being part of the Lunch with Alex community. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If this conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, share it with a colleague, and join us next time on Lunch with Alex. Thank you.